kept coming to me and became very apparent was the disrespect for the African.
Arikana's wake-up call to Africans, home and abroad. But who is this woman? How did this Zimbabwean-born woman keep to dominate our daily conversation? And who really is she? We have researched the internet, including some of the places you might not be looking at, and we found relevant information about Dr. Arikana. Are you ready to learn about her? Then keep listening.
I knew it existed. I just didn't understand the depth and the profoundness of it. And not only that, as I began to understand it even deeper, I began to also understand its economic implications when it comes to how we are perceived on the world stage, how this simple fact of simply disrespecting the African had serious implications and is at the root cause of why Africa is not able to move forward.
Did I mention that from 2017 to 2019, Arikana served as the African representative to the United States, and that her book is equally titled African 101, The Wake-Up Call? I will say something about that shortly, but first, some information about this African daughter now shaping a different narrative. Born in Zimbabwe around 1957, Arikana's journey took her from the heart of Africa to the United States, where she established herself as a medical doctor, activist, and entrepreneur. Her commitment to healthcare led her to found the Bell Family Medical Center in Tennessee. That was in 1992, where she provided essential services to communities in the United States. However, it is her role as a diplomat and advocate for African unity that has truly propelled her onto the global stage. From 2017 to 2019, Arikana served as the African Union representative to the United States, where she tirelessly championed the cause of African unity, empowerment, and representation. At the core of Arikana's advocacy is her steadfast belief in Pan-Africanism, the idea that the future of Africa lies in its unity. She has been a vocal proponent of reunifying the continent, arguing that a united Africa is better equipped to address the common challenges it faces, such as poverty, healthcare disparity, and underdevelopment. Central to Arikana's vision is the engagement of the African diasporas in African development journey, and that is fundamentally important, if I must stress. According to an article on the African Development Bank Group, African abroad remained about $95.6 billion to the continent. That is not a small amount of money, and it therefore should make sense that the skill and expertise of the African diaspora are quickly assuming greater importance to Africa's economic development and political future too. It's on this background that Arikana recognized the wealth of knowledge, skill, and resources that the diaspora communities possess, and therefore advocate for harnessing these assets to drive progress on the African continent. So wherever you look, you will hear Arikana taking on the bigger power who are always exploiting Africa as a way of life and as a way of diplomacy, talking of France, the United States, UK, and many Western countries who have this as a way of dealing with Africa.
If you look at it, you give up the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization said those countries were expected to deposit 85% of their bank reserves back then with the French Central Bank under the control of the French Minister of Finance. And should those countries wish to request some of those monies, because remember they were only left with 15% of their reserves, then they would have to submit a financial statement for the country, and if approved, they could only access up to 20% of whatever they had deposited the year before as a loan at commercial interest rates. The only difference now is the 85% deposits have now been lowered down to maybe between 50 and 60%. But the countries are still forced and required to deposit their bank reserves with the French Central Bank.
And many African leaders are not even concerned about that. But can we do something about it? Arikana is saying, yes, we can do something about it. If we realize that we have a role, we have a stake in what is happening in Africa. So Dr. Arikana is challenging Africa to the project of decolonization, which is the process through which formerly colonized nations or people reclaim their autonomy, sovereignty, and cultural identity from colonial power. Of course, this could include dismantling colonial structure, institution, and ideology that perpetuate inequality. So there are many things that Arikana is doing. Of course, we have taken time to actually outline what she's doing in Africa and what she's doing among the African diaspora. You can check it out on our website, aclasses.org/Arikana. And the article actually detailed everything that Arikana is doing and what makes her to stand out today in conversation about Africa. Yes, I did make mention of Dr. Arikana's book, African 101, The Wake-Up Call. Now, let me share a piece just from the book descriptions so you can have an idea of what this woman is up to and why you should care as African and African diaspora. The book is about the hunters and the hunted. The hunters are African exploiter, slaver, colonizer, and neo-colonizer, and the hunted are the African people who survive against the severe odds.
Government, my brothers and sisters, is calling for unity of purpose. The abuse of Black people around the world has got to come to an end. We can no longer continue to accept the status they put us in to be the world working class to perpetuity. I refuse to accept that.
Although Arikana serves as a diplomat, she says that being diplomatic about the real issue facing Africa will do us no good. This is why she's on a mission of a wake-up call.
This nail by the head, because it's something that we must speak to. When we go to Africa as continental Africans who've been to, in my husband's country of Ghana, we call these people like me Bintus. I've been to America, I've been to Britain. We Bintus, we got issues. We go back home with an attitude. We think just because we've been to, we know more than the ones at home. That attitude has got to change. And it's one of the reasons why many people are not making it when the Bintus go back home.
Using personal story, her father's account from the village of Chivu in Zimbabwe, and solid historical references, Dr. Arikana is a pro in educating, motivating, and challenging the status quo with regard to Western countries' abuse of Africa. If you haven't gotten a copy of this book, I strongly recommend that you do so. And I'm positive that it will challenge you to your core and move you to action. This is a wake-up call to Africans, home and abroad. Will you respond?